On a cold winter night, Danny received a mysterious invitation to photograph the abandoned Peake mansion. The mansion had been the site of a massive fire centuries ago, in which everyone living there perished. To this day, no one knows who was responsible for the tragedy. The story of this mansion remains a mysterious legend in our present world. Danny was intrigued by the invitation. As a professional and renowned photographer, he usually visits famous locations daily to capture stunning photographs that often grace the covers of global magazines. He sat pondering the invitation, knowing the mansion was widely rumored to be haunted by spirits. In the end, he decided to go, viewing it as a journalistic scoop that would boost his fame and present a new challenge to his photographic skills. The next day, Danny arrived at the mansion at sunset. The sky was overcast, and the cold air bit at him as he inspected the charred exterior of the old building. He took photos of the crumbling facade, the broken windows, and the garden overrun with tall grass and thorns. The atmosphere filled him with a strange sense of anticipation. The air felt heavy, as if there was no oxygen in this cursed place. Ignoring this feeling, he proceeded to enter the mansion. Inside the mansion, the furniture appeared untouched, merely covered in dust. Spiders had woven webs in the corners, adding to the eerie atmosphere. The stench of decay filled the air. Suddenly, he felt as though someone passed behind him. But when he turned, no one was there. A chill ran down his spine. He began taking photos, ignoring the faint sounds that started to echo around him. Whispers and soft laughter that made him feel he was not alone. Danny headed upstairs and found a room adorned with old, luxurious decorations. As he took a photo of an old picture frame, he noticed the image changing on his camera. Instead of the usual portrait, the image of a woman crying blood appeared. His blood ran cold, but he convinced himself it was just a hallucination brought on by the darkness. He left the room, trying to forget what he had seen. He then entered another room filled with old books, but suddenly the lights went out, and the door slammed shut behind him. He tried desperately to open the door, but to no avail. The eerie sounds intensified. The whispers turned into screams. He could hear his own rapid breaths as his heartbeat quickened. A phrase kept repeating, "We will avenge the descendants of those who caused our death." He didn't understand the meaning or the reason behind its repetition. Shadows moved on the walls, and mysterious shapes appeared and disappeared. He heard a voice calling his name from one of the adjacent rooms. Cautiously, he approached the sound to find a dark room with a large mirror. In the mirror, the ghost of a woman in an old-fashioned dress appeared, looking at him with eyes full of hatred. The ghost moved closer to him through the mirror, and he felt a cold hand touch his shoulder. He turned suddenly to find himself alone in the dark. The lights began to fade, and the sounds gradually diminished, bringing him back once again to the starting room. However, this time he felt something was chasing him. Then the ghost appeared again, but this time it was directly in front of him. The woman shouted in a coarse, deep voice, as if it came from hell, "You caused our deaths. We will do to you what your ancestors did to us." Danny said in terror, I don't understand anything. Who are you? The woman laughed malevolently and said with hateful sarcasm, Really, you don't understand, but I'll believe you. How could you understand when your entire family died before you came of age? Then she spoke in a devilish voice. Your cursed family killed them all, just as they did to us. Danny shouted angrily, What does my family have to do with what happened to you? The ghost of the frightening woman replied, Your great-grandfather performed a cursed magic ritual in our mansion. He made a pact with the devil to gain immense power and eternal life in exchange for human sacrifices. The condition was that these sacrifices had to be members of the Mary Peake family, the family known for fighting and burning many demons. Your cursed grandfather sneaked into the mansion and performed his rituals. Then, a massive fire broke out, consuming everything and killing everyone. He could hear our screams and laughed. The cries of my infant daughter as she burned still echo in my ears, but I was powerless to do anything for her. Suddenly, the palace shook violently, as if a powerful earthquake had struck the city. Danny decided to flee the palace, but he found the doors tightly sealed. The ground trembled fiercely, splitting open to reveal a large, deep chasm. Danny nearly fell into it, but managed to grasp onto a wall. He crawled his way back up to safety. The ghosts began to chase him, and the screams grew louder. He started running through the palace, desperately searching for an exit. However, all the doors remained locked except for one. When he opened it, he found himself on the edge of a towering mountain cliff. He looked back and saw the ghost of that terrifying woman, saying, I will take your soul. No matter how hard you try to escape, you won't die that easily. Danny shouted defiantly, I won't die at the hands of a monster like you. Then he closed his eyes and jumped off the cliff, finding himself outside the palace. He looked back at the palace and saw the ghost of the woman approaching the door, but it suddenly slammed shut with great force. He heard agonizing, deafening screams, as if her soul was being tormented once again. He stood, catching his breath, trying to comprehend what had just happened. He looked at the camera to check the photos, but he found that all the pictures he had taken had disappeared, except for one, a picture of him standing inside the mansion, with the ghost of the woman staring at him with eyes full of hatred in the background. He left the camera behind and walked away from the mansion, feeling that something had followed him outside.